I think it's working this time. I just tried to go live like 5 seconds ago and it got stuck when it counts down and it's like 3, 2, 1. It got stuck on the 1 and then I couldn't tell if I was actually live or just pretending to be live. Technology is fabulous when it works, but sometimes we're not so lucky. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Allie Bjork. I am new to the group, so if you are just logging on, please introduce yourself. I would love to know who you are, where you're from, what your business is, and then also super conversational. I would love to have people on here live that can ask questions as we go. Feel free to interrupt me or, jump right in with what questions you have. It's easier for me to chat back and forth with people and know if my answer is making sense or not versus just talking at you for the next 30, 45 minutes, however long we end up being live. So I'm here to talk to you today about Facebook ads. This is a service that I provide for my clients, and it's something I'm super passionate about. I'm really excited. I saw all of your questions come in, and you guys had some really amazing questions. So I'm really excited to get to go through them with you and add my opinion, my experience, background behind everything that you're asking. So let me know as people are popping on, who's watching, what your business is. A little bit about me. My name's Allie Bjork. I am in Minnesota, so if you love my accent, give me a thumbs up. I get teased a lot for it, so I may as well just own it. I'm a digital strategist for online business owners, specifically coaches, generally life coaches, health coaches, spiritual-based, lots of different types of coaches. And I help them create, not only run the Facebook ads for their businesses, but I help them create the sales systems behind the ads so that they're not just running their ads in a vacuum and they're getting the return that they really want from those ads. So I recently took part in a Facebook ad summit called Social Ad School, and the title of my presentation was "It Depends," which I feel like is kind of a cop-out for some marketers, or it might feel like it's a cop-out if you ask a marketer a question and their answer starts off with, well, it depends. Like, it can be kind of annoying, right? You just want a clear-cut answer. You want an exact formula, a special top secret answer to what you're asking. But when I was reading through your questions on the post, the very first thought that came to my mind for a lot of them was, well, it depends. So that's kind of going to be the basis of how we're talking through things today too. And I will answer them to the best of my ability, and I'll probably give you like 5 other things to do in addition to running ads for your questions. So some things that I've run into in being approached to run Facebook ads for businesses, I always like to do an audit of everything that they have going on in their business. And most of the time that looks like having a really strong sales funnel in place. And I've actually changed the way that I work with clients, in that if they don't have a sales system in place to make sure they're getting a return on their ads, I won't help provide the ad running, because I fully believe in you need to be getting $1 out if you're putting $1 in. And I've seen too many people like just light their money on fire and not get the return that they've been promised by other people when it comes to running Facebook ads. There's a lot of people in the industry right now that are teaching the front end of how to run a Facebook ad, and like not covering the back end and the months and months of work that can go on behind a Facebook ad campaign in creating like a very strong opt-in and a good landing page, and making sure your follow-up sequence is perfectly aligned with the offer. And so that's a really big piece of what I try to educate people on when I'm talking about Facebook ads, because it's such a results-based business as far as like coming from a strategy provider or a service provider's perspective. There's a lot of people out there that are saying like, well, I just ran the ads behind a 100K launch. Okay, that's great. And she only spent $2,000. That was a great launch for her. But in reality, she had been nurturing that audience, working for that audience for like the last 6 months to a year before running her ad campaign. So they're already really warmed up. It wasn't cold traffic. So there are a lot of things behind the scenes that play into how an ad performs. And some of those things include having a really strong paid customer journey mapped out. So you know every single entry point in your business, what their first impression is, what their thought process is going to be, all the different types of content you have available, like what are their pain points, what benefits are you providing, making sure that you keep all of those things in mind as you are planning out your marketing, that's a really big piece of the puzzle, because people will see your ad and oftentimes they'll go check out your website or they'll click through to your business page before opting in. So a really big piece of running ads is making sure that all of those other things are in place, and that you know exactly, like, if you're running an ad for traffic to a blog post, are you giving them an opportunity to opt in on that blog? Do you have your pixel in place so that you can make sure you're tracking the traffic on your blog? Like, there's a lot of those technical details that can make us feel kind of bogged down when it comes to running a Facebook ad campaign. So those are some things to pay attention to when you're getting ready to run ads. Another thing that really helps people before they get started is make sure that you have existing products for different entry points for people. And this is all back to a sales funnel too. So making sure that you know, you have easy ways for people to hire you, to take that next step with you, and really knowing the goal of your Facebook ad campaign before you even turn it on. So overall, there's like a foundation of business that needs to be laid down first. If the ads are usually like the very tip of the iceberg, and then all of this other planning is below the surface. So all of that being said, I'm going to answer your questions, and please pop in and ask me more as I get going. So the first question that I came across was, how little can be spent per day to actually see results? And what I usually tell people is $5 a day is a pretty good place to start. But know that that's for one audience. That doesn't give you a lot of room for testing. And testing is a really big piece that goes into running, you know, the secrets of conversion, which was the next part of the question. The secret to conversion is making sure that you're testing all sorts of different things. So if you're going in with how little can I spend, that doesn't give you a lot of room to experiment and try different headlines and different audiences. When I'm running ads for a client, I usually start with at least 10 different audiences, and then we start dialing it in after 48 to 72 hours and seeing, okay, this person that we targeted, they're converting a lot more expensively than this person is. Let's pause that campaign and boost this one a little bit higher, put some more dollars behind this one. So how little can be spent? There are different strategies behind if you have a very limited budget to work with. I would not run ads straight for conversions, because the way, with the competitiveness of Facebook ads right now, you're seeing like $3 to $5 per conversion being a pretty standard amount when you're running your ads. So if you're going in with a very small budget and not wanting to spend more than $5 a day, just make sure that your expectations are equal to what that looks like for your business. So that might be you might get one lead on your list for $5 a day. So just knowing, you know, what the long run or the long-term goal is for your business and what you're running ads towards. If you're looking to get traffic on your blog and just start testing out different topics to see, like, what are people clicking on, what's resonating with this audience, you can usually think about 50 to 80 cents per click is a good rate for the traffic ads. But then there are other things you can do. We've been hearing a lot about messenger bots, and a lot of people instantly like shy away, like, you know, I'm all about authenticity and I don't want to do messenger bots because that's automated and that doesn't feel good. But there are ways to have messenger bots fire when someone comments on, like, if you're doing a live stream. You can use a tool called ManyChat to set up. It sends a bot response when someone adds a comment on your live stream. And all that does is gives you a little bit more leeway to get back in contact with that person, start getting their information. And you can do it in a very conversational way, a very authentic way, where you're not just talking at them. Like, you're learning more about who they are as a business and how you can help them and bring value to them versus, you know, when I first heard messenger bots, I was like, nah, that's not a good way to do it. But tying back into the strategy of how little you can spend, if you do a live stream and you want to put $10 or $15 behind your live stream, and then you have ManyChat set up asking people to comment, then you can get people behind the scenes who are going to comment on your post, and then you're still getting them as a lead, not necessarily an email lead, but they're still on your messenger bot lead, and you can get comments for as little as 10, 15 cents, maybe even like 5 cents. So it's all about understanding how to stretch your dollar and what strategies go on behind the scenes and different tools are available to get the biggest bang for your buck. I think that was another question that Steph asked. You know, there are ways to stretch the dollar amount for Facebook ads, and maybe it means like doing a really good live stream where you're talking about holding up a freebie and saying, you can download this freebie if you go to my website. My website is this, and then you run the ad just for video views. So it's all about being really, really strategic behind the type of ad you're running to get it. It's a little bit longer game if you're trying to save the dollars up front. What I always tell people is that when it comes to marketing strategy and digital strategy and advertising, you can either spend time or you can spend money. And if you're sinking a bunch of money into your ad campaign, you're going to get results, or you're at least going to get data really quick. Even if it's not the results you wanted, you're still going to get information back about what was working, what wasn't working. You're going to get a lot of insights into the type of people that were clicking on your ads. But you're going to be out the money. Or you can have a lower budget and it's going to take a little bit longer. If you're doing conversions, that might be 1 lead a day if you have the lower budget. Or, you know, it's a longer game where you're just getting people familiar with you, seeing your face, they're watching your Facebook Lives, those type of things. So it's either the time piece or the money piece. If you want to save money on Facebook ads, you can still run them. You can still do a great job running the ads and getting new eyeballs on you and your business, but it's just going to be a longer term nurturing game afterwards. So hopefully that makes sense. Next question was, how can I convert paid ads to paying clients or attendance at events? I've had very few conversions with paid ads or really anywhere on Facebook except existing groups that are not mine. So my question about this one is that an in-person event, or is that like a masterclass or a live stream or some live event that you're hosting online? And the first things that come to mind for me in reading that question is when you are asking someone to spend their time on an event for you or with you, or a live event, like that's a really big commitment for the person that is seeing the ad, or they're seeing, seeing the event basically. If they don't know you, it's not a fair, like the value, and it's not equal. The value and cost doesn't equal up. So if the value you're offering them is a live stream, but they aren't familiar with you yet, they're not willing to put in the cost of their time, if that makes sense. They would be willing to invest their time into like a quick freebie to start learning who you are, but until they're really invested and they trust you, then they're not quite ready to commit the cost of time for the value that you're providing. So it's always about, as a lead is a cold lead, they're not willing to invest a lot of time into what you're offering or a lot of money, which is why when people talk about sales funnels and value ladders, it always starts, the cold audience is always like this tiny little piece down in the bottom left corner. Like they're not familiar with you. They don't know if they trust you yet. They don't know if they like you yet. And honestly, the like factor is like the biggest piece of the Facebook ads or any digital strategy. Like you just have to be likable and start getting referrals, and then you start growing the social proof behind that, and that's when you can start going up your value ladder. So if you're not converting your paid ads towards events yet, maybe start with something a little bit smaller and work your way backwards. So if having people attend your event is your main goal, it's up here, maybe it's a paid event or a free event, something like that. Follow the breadcrumbs backwards and think about, okay, so if they're attending my event about this certain subject, say it's a subject about, what example can I think of? Say you're putting on an event about how to get more leads for your coaching business, because that's something I know and understand. So I would start thinking about what pain points people have if they're going to attend an event like that. Maybe they're spending all of their time in Facebook groups just trying to network and they're not getting any leads. Maybe they have feast and famine in their business, and they either have really, really good months or they have nothing. So just start thinking backwards in what can this live event solve for them, and then thinking in terms of like, okay, what type of really quick checklist could I offer just to start warming them up to me, getting to like me, know me. And that would probably be a better place to start for the paid ads versus like going straight for this event that's going to cost them more time than just downloading something. hopefully that makes sense. You guys are pretty quiet if you're watching. Next question that was on the list is, how loud does the call to action need to be? I've tried Facebook ads with very little results and for events and also website newsletter signups. The call to action needs to be pretty dang loud. And that goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago of like, they need to understand what you're offering and they need to understand how they can hire you and what you're doing. So one of the biggest things, thanks for commenting, Christine. One of the biggest things that I like clicked for me probably 6 months ago is that like copywriting is absolutely everything when it comes to reaching a new audience. And specifically direct response copywriting is something to really start researching if you're looking to get people responding to your ads, like from a cold traffic perspective. They're brand new to you. They don't know who you are. Your face is no different than a stock photo they're seeing in their newsfeed. The way to really get people to start paying attention is to use direct response copy, where you're telling them exactly what you want them to do. And when you think about it, like, we're pretty good at following rules. We stand in line at the grocery store like we're supposed to. We drive on the right side of the road, or left if you're in England. But, you know, so like if you're talking to someone, you're saying like, I have an offer that will really, really help you. Go to my website, click this button, do it now, do it today. Like, if you add that very clear call to action that you're telling them exactly what they need to do to solve the problem that, you know, what you're there to help with, you tell them exactly what they need to do and have a very, very clear call to action, which can feel a little awkward from, you know, a heart-centered perspective or, you know, a sensitive seller perspective. That whole urgency piece of when you see the countdowns on pages, like if you click off this page, you're never going to get this offer again. Like, we've been so conditioned to these things that it's like, whatever, if I hit refresh on this page, like the timer goes back up. So I know that you're not being honest. And I think people are starting to feel a little bit jaded when it comes to these online strategies. But I ramble and I get really excited about this stuff, so bear with me. So as far as call to action, like, that's exactly what you need to do, is like tell them that they need to click now because this is what they'll receive on the next page. And don't be afraid to give them a timeline, give them a little bit of urgency, but do it in an authentic way, because people will remember that you're an authentic person, you're giving them value, you're a good human. Like, that's the biggest piece of marketing that comes through for people. It's not about different tactics and strategies. It's about who you are behind it. That's going to stick around and really help you scale your business in the long run. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here too. As you can see by my jitteriness. Maybe I've had too much caffeine today. Another question on the list was, how do you get the biggest bang or the most bang for your buck? And that goes back to having a really strong strategy behind it. Knowing how much you have to spend, knowing you know, where people can go from just being an email on your list, or you know, what do you want those people to do? What's their next step? I think having a really clear vision of what that looks like will help you feel really good about the money you're spending on Facebook ads. It's when people are running ads just as like a one-off trial, like, oh, I'm just going to try this for 7 days, and if I don't get 3,000 leads per day, then it wasn't worth it. There's a misconception that that's how Facebook ads work. There's so much behind, or below the surface, I should say, of what goes into a really successful campaign. That the biggest bang for your buck is making sure that you have a really clear follow-up sequence. You know how much you can spend per lead to make it worth it for you. There's a really good calculator. I can put it in the comments if I can think of it. It's by HubSpot, and it's all about how to calculate your ads budget. This is the longer version, but I'm going to paste it right here if anybody wants to check this out. Basically, it tells you, like, if you know your average customer from a Facebook ad is going to be worth $300, then you can work your way backwards and figure out, okay, so if I spent $30 to acquire this lead, it's still going to be a profit. So it does take some, you know, like messing with the numbers and tracking and making sure that you know what you're spending per lead and how much that lead is worth over their entire lifetime, which can feel a little bit intimidating for people. But if you're just getting started with Facebook ads, just think about how much you can spend without being really emotionally invested in the return right off the bat. So if you're just getting started, think of it as like, oh, this is something fun I'm going to experiment with and see what happens, versus like, if I don't sell a high-end one-to-one coaching program, this is a total waste of my time. If you think about it, it's all about just flipping your mindset a little bit about what you're expecting from the Facebook ads, especially if it's something that you're just trying for the very first time. There's a lot of testing and tweaking that goes in, and it usually takes a couple of weeks to get things dialed in and really clicking along audience-wise and conversion rate-wise. So what I see a lot typically are like 3% sale rates. So if you are running an ad straight to a sales page, you can expect to sell to 3% of those people if they're a cold audience. So if you calculate your way backwards and you think about if everything is in working order, you have a really strong campaign going, you still need to think about the math of like, okay, so if everyone who clicks to that page costs 80 cents and then 3% of those people are going to buy, my product needs to be at least X amount of dollars to pay for those ads. So there's some math that goes into it on the back end of like making sure that you keep those numbers in mind as you're running your ads, and that if there is a campaign that's converting above what you can afford, shut it down and just keep rolling with like the lower cost campaigns. And that's where it's really smart to run multiple tests at the same time, try different things, try different audiences, images, because odds are that if you're testing multiple things, one is going to be converting at a less expensive rate, and then you can pause the other ones and start testing new versions of the least expensive ad. So the short answer for how to get the biggest bang for your buck is know your goals, test everything so that you can start shutting off the more expensive things, test different types of ads, whether it's an engagement post, traffic post, or a conversion campaign. Just test everything, and then start shutting it down as you've got it dialed in and figured out. The next question, are Instagram ads more effective than Facebook ads? And this goes back to my original comment, which is not a cop-out, but it depends. It depends on how old your audience is. It depends on if that's where they're hanging out. It depends on, like what your niche is specifically. So if you have done well organically or for free on Instagram, then it's probably going to work more effectively than a Facebook ad. But it also needs to be something that has been created for Instagram, where it's fitting in with like the culture over on Instagram, where it's a bright, beautiful photo. It's got a well-written comment below or description, I guess, maybe it's a better way to say that. Maybe it's using emojis because that fits the culture over there. It's more of like knowing who your people are and where they're hanging out to know whether that's going to be more effective or not. And also testing, of course. You knew I was going to say that. Make sure you're testing Instagram versus Facebook ads. And it's really cool if you go within the insights of the Facebook ads manager area, and you look at where your leads or your clicks or your conversions are coming from. It will separate it into little bar graphs for you. So you can see, okay, the people that clicked over from Instagram were $4 per lead, or the people from Facebook were $2 per lead. It helps you separate where the leads were coming from, and who was converting at a lower rate or less expensive rate right from Facebook's ad insights. So you can get a really clear idea of which one you should keep running with and which one's being more effective. So with that being said, what I used to do for people when I was running Facebook ad campaigns for them, or Instagram ad campaigns, I would separate the campaigns completely. I would only run an Instagram campaign, and I would separately run a different campaign for just Facebook. But Facebook's gotten so much more intelligent with their algorithms and with their own systems that now I just do it within the same campaign, and I let them figure out who to show the ad to, because they know so much about who's going to convert. They know where to show your type of ad, and what's going to help you get the best result. Because Facebook ultimately delivers an experience for its users. Yes, its advertisers give them money, but if they don't have people using Facebook, they don't have Facebook anymore. So their biggest goal is to deliver a really good experience for people. That's why they have so many regulations on like what type of words you can use in your ads, what type of images you can show. You know, if you're getting too much negative feedback on an ad, they start hiding it more. Their ultimate goal is to deliver a really good experience for the people that are using their platform. So they have indexed everyone, and they know what is going to be entertaining or helpful or what type of content people are going to click through. Because I don't know about you, but I've had Facebook since, what was it? It's been like 11 years now. So they know every article I've clicked on since I was a sophomore in college. They know when I got engaged and I started seeing wedding ads. When I had babies, they started showing me baby ads. Like they know so much about us from a really creepy perspective. And they also work with third-party advertisers. Like if you ever get curious and you want to look them up, one is named Axiom. And they're like the people that buy information from Target on like what we're swiping our cards for. They know how much our car loans are worth. They know how much our homes are worth. They know like all of those big data things that people feel really gross about being out there. Like Facebook knows that stuff. So from a consumer perspective, I can see why people would use like ad blockers and stuff like that. But from a marketing perspective, it gives us an amazing opportunity to get in front of the people that we can really help and serve. So just remembering that Facebook knows that about people. They know what they need to do to give a good service to people. And that's why if you have a really well put together campaign with, like, Facebook even goes as far as looking at your landing pages, they just are concerned with the overall delivery and experience of the user. So that's why if you have a lower, what they call a relevancy score, your ad is going to be more expensive. And basically a relevancy score is they look at who you're targeting and what you're offering. And if you're trying to target someone with an offer that's not in alignment with them, they're going to charge you a lot more money. That's why you always want to have a relevancy score, I say, of like 7 or above. If it's less than 7, shut it down. So when you're looking at it's only on the ad results. So if you are in your ads manager, there's the campaign area, there's the ad sets, and then there's the ad area. And then there's a column within the ads area that is called relevancy score. And that's where you would look for at least that 7 or above, or pause that ad, because otherwise you're paying way more than you need to be for it. How's that for a sidetrack comment? So the next question is, I'm focused on Facebook converting to YouTube subscribers. Is there a specific strategy that's working well these days? I would say having a clear call to action in anything that you're doing. If your goal is to get people over on YouTube and following you over on YouTube, then talk about YouTube all the time. Like if you're doing a Facebook Live, say you can get more content like this over on my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the button when you get there to make sure you don't miss any updates. Or even you could give people like some sort of ethical bribe about why they should subscribe. Like, subscribe to my channel and you'll get this free ebook about my awesome business and or how you can learn from my amazing content. So if you're focused on getting people from Facebook to YouTube, you just need to tell people exactly what you need them to do. So I put all my best content on YouTube. Make sure you're going over there to follow me, or create a text post that says, like, I talk about this on my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and get my free ebook or something like that. So just tell them, like, if you're on Facebook and you want to follow me more, go to YouTube. But that being said, as far as an ad perspective, just make sure that you're putting some dollars behind the posts that are telling them to go to YouTube. So if you're doing a Facebook Live, maybe go into the Power Editor and find your existing post, the Facebook Live post, and then put money behind it so that people are seeing more of you and more of your Facebook Live, where you're telling them to go find you on YouTube. Okay, this question I actually Googled because this was something that I wasn't sure of. The new Safari update doesn't allow cross-tracking so that you can follow someone across the web. How does that influence our Facebook ad strategy? And this was something, like, I knew Savari had added some different things, but I hadn't heard any rumblings of this in all of the Facebook groups that Facebook ad groups that I'm in. So I was like, is this something new that I haven't heard of, or is this something like, how new is the Savari update? But basically what I found is that it's more about like the third party, kind of like the Axiom third party thing that I mentioned a little bit ago. This is a bigger influence on how they are tracking people across the interwebs. So not to get too technical, but there's a little cookie that follows you around basically, and it imprints itself on your computer, and it can tell if you go to certain websites. And that's part of what Facebook does with their pixel that you should have installed on your website. It's just a little piece of code that helps Facebook identify what users of their Facebook users are going to different websites. So with these cookies, they're allowed to stay on websites or stay on browsers for a certain amount of time. And basically what Safari did is made their limitations for how long that cookie could stay on your computer. They made it 24 hours instead of 30 days, which is kind of the standard, was 30 days. But fortunately for Facebook advertisers, most people use Facebook just about every day. So that cookie is able to get on the person's browser 24 hours after they've visited Facebook or any other website. So for us, having Facebook ad strategies, it's not going to influence too much of what we're doing. And same for Google, because most of us are, Google's maybe our homepage, or we're Googling things. It is concerning because it's mostly a mobile update that's where I feel most people are using Facebook. And so fortunately, it shouldn't affect it too much, but I wouldn't be surprised if things keep moving in this direction where there are more plugins that can block ads. There are more, like people are trying to avoid advertising as much as they can. We're fast forwarding through commercials, and, that seems to be the way that we're going, is avoiding the advertising. So I think just keeping in mind that don't put all your cookies in one basket, I guess. Make sure you have multiple ways to reach your audience, because putting it all in Facebook's control gets a little scary, because I've talked to a lot of people where all of every single lead in their business came off of a Facebook ad, but then all of a sudden, like, somehow they violated one of Facebook's ad policies without even realizing it, and they lose everything. Fortunately, most of them are able to get their ads, their accounts back up and running. But I mean, that could be like a month or two long process where all of a sudden you have no idea where your leads are coming from. So that's why it's really smart to diversify your customer journey, I guess, so that you have, Pinterest driving traffic, there's Facebook in general, there's blogs, there's SEO, there's Facebook groups. There's so many different ways where we can connect with our people that it's just really important to make sure that you're not only going after one strategy just for the long-term longevity and success of your business. Okay, next question. I'm wondering about demographic targeting for programs. Do you think it's more successful targeting your people and their people, or to focus on a not yet tapped group? That's a good question. These are all good questions. But so it depends on if you're doing like a coaching program or like an info product program. One of the best campaigns that I ran recently was this was the third time the girl had run the program, and I uploaded a list of email addresses of all of her prior purchasers. So then Facebook was able to create a lookalike audience based on anyone who had already signed up and paid her in the past. So they could use their algorithm to find similarities and create an audience of like 1 million people that were very, very similar to people who had already bought her program, and that campaign performed really, really well for her. So that would be a way that you can target kind of your people, but also an untapped group. It depends on what your history has been with Facebook ads. If your audience is warmed up, if they already know, like, and trust you, and what you're offering them at the very beginning. I would never run an ad straight to a sale just because people, well, let me backtrack. If it's a program, it's likely going to be like a higher dollar amount, not like a $12 or $27 thing. So if it's more than like $97, I would not run traffic to sell a program directly, but think back on like, okay, how can I provide some value before asking them to sign up for this program? Like, is that a challenge? Is that a video series? Is it maybe like a mini course? Or maybe you take like one module of the program and teach it live and then tell them about the rest of your amazing program while you're teaching it live. Maybe you run ads to something like that to a new audience, a cold audience, versus like going straight for your $497 sale. That's one way to do it. But if you are, as far as if you have more success targeting your people and their people, if you're going straight for a sale, then you would probably have more luck with people that are more familiar with you. Or if you're doing something like taking one module of your program, teaching it live through a challenge or a mini course or something like that, and then retargeting those people for the sale, that can work really well too. But there needs to be some level of contact before you are, before you're asking them to invest in you. You need to invest in them a little bit by providing them value first. I used to get high conversions for my ads, and now not nearly as much. Same copy. Has Facebook ads recently changed? Seems like they are ever evolving on the daily. Yes, that is true. What do I recommend they are best used for? So your ads, you're welcome, Ray. The odds are that if your ads were performing really well, you can probably look at your insights and see like a gradual decline over time. And if when you're looking at the reports, there are different little things that you can pull down. So I would look at impressions and see like, if you started burning out your audience, then maybe like your impressions started going up as people are either like, clicking hide this ad, or, your audience is probably going to be getting smaller over time, or they're going to be getting just burned out on seeing like your same ad over and over again. So a couple things you could do is start testing new audiences. If you know that copy performed really well for a different audience, maybe just try somebody new, start experimenting with a different audience set, or pause the ads for a little while just to let people like not be burned out on seeing them more than once a day, if that's what's happening. I always tell people to look at the frequency and try to keep it around 1 time per day. Otherwise, like, people just get tired of seeing the same things over and over again, even if it's a really great offer. So yes, they are ever evolving on daily. Every time I log into Facebook, ads, which can be like daily, it seems like it's different all the time. So if you know those ads are performing really well, try a different audience. Maybe try tweaking the offer a little bit, switching out your images, switching your headlines. Just keep testing all sorts of different things. If you know it's working well, and you don't want to try a new audience, if you know like these are dialed in, these are my people, then maybe just pause it and offer something else for a little while too, if it's not an option to start testing and switching things around. Okay, the last question that I have, going on about 38 minutes here. If you have any questions, pop them, I don't know, whatever direction you can see it. Pop them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer them as they come in too. So this question says, also interested in how to choose target audience for best conversion rates for tickets or events. Do you recommend Facebook ads to build your mailing list? Ooh, this is like a 3-part question. I'm going to start with the first one. So if you're interested in choosing your target audience for conversion rates for tickets or events, what I tell people to do is think about who your competitors are. And when I say competitors, I don't mean like, I think I compete with Amy Porterfield, because I have nowhere near the offerings or following or anything like that. I am not a competitor of Amy Porterfield's, but topic-wise, we talk about similar things. She talks about Facebook ads, I talk about Facebook ads. So in that respect, we are competitors because we have a similar interest level and we're competing for the attention of the same group of people. So start thinking about that. Another example is like if I'm running ads for a brick and mortar high-end kitchen store, I could target people that are also interested in Crate and Barrel. This little local mom and pop kitchen store, they are not competitors of Crate and Barrel on like the scale wise of dollar amounts per sale or, annual revenue, any of that stuff. But interest wise, like people who like Crate and Barrel are probably going to like this little mom and pop shop too. So start thinking like parallels. What can you how to choose a target audience in who they are also interested in and who is sort of a competitor of what you're talking about. So if you are, you know, maybe it's an author for a book that they read. Maybe it's like people that have read Big Magic or ordered that on their Kindle. Like, you can target that specifically on interest levels. There's a place within the Facebook ads where, I'm going to see if I can really quick paste this too. It's called Facebook Audience Insights. And when you have a Facebook Ads Manager account, you can pop in and you can start comparing different audiences, and it can tell you, so if somebody likes Amy Porterfield, here's a list of other things that we know they're probably also interested in. So it could be like Melanie Duncan or Pat Flynn. Like, they're going to tell me other names of people that are very similar that I could also experiment on targeting. So I think testing is a really big piece of that. Choosing your audience for tickets or events specifically, you could look at what your event is about and what interest level. Like, work your way backwards again and figure out if they're interested in my event, they probably have read this book or probably followed this blog, or they probably buy this product. You know, like if you're a natural company, maybe target like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, stuff like that, like very related interests, but something that's more of like a complement to your business versus a competitor. Like, there's different ways to think about it, but also testing is a huge piece of it, obviously. Do I recommend Facebook ads to build your mailing list or more for events? I would lean towards building your mailing list before promoting an event. If it's like a live event or an online event, like if you are building your mailing list, odds are that you have done something to provide them value before asking them to invest their time or their money in an event. So by going straight for the mailing list first, you're able to, and I don't know if you mean like a direct mailing list or an email list. That could be two different strategies, but let's just assume that it's email. Odds are you've given them something valuable that they can use in their business or in their lives before you're asking them to attend an event. Like, the more you can nurture these people and help them get to know who you are and what you're all about, and give them value before you ask them to give you anything back, that's where you're going to have the best conversions, and some of the lower conversion rates too, because you're probably retargeting versus doing cold traffic at that point. A really good book is Jab, Jab, Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. And basically the point of that book is that, like, you jab and you jab, you give them free stuff and you give them free stuff. And by the time that you're ever asking them to give you something back, whether that's your time or your money, their time or their money, they're already like, well, yeah, this is a no-brainer. You've given me so much already. You know, it's like obvious that they're going to help invest in you too. And it's the same with, like, whether it's ads or if it's just Facebook. Like, people all over the place, it seems to be a really big trend right now to like add friends and say like, oh, we're friends now, like attend my thing. Like, that's not how it really works. You wouldn't be at a cocktail party and go up to a handsome gentleman and be like, hey, marry me. Like, there's this whole dating thing where, you know, you flirt a little, you talk to them a little bit, you help them get some interest, and then maybe you date. And then it's like this longer relationship nurturing thing where that's what we need to be doing with our online businesses too. Just because it's online doesn't mean that we're existing in a vacuum and we're not humans. Like, we still like connection. We still like feeling appreciated and like we're getting value out of something before we're being asked for investments of any sort. So how about selling a VIP program? This is the second part of the question. How about selling a VIP program? Can this be helpful to sell high-end programs or better for low middle ground products? Does that matter? I would say you need a sales funnel for the VIP program, and whether that's running an ad to like a video series or something like that, and then bringing them to like an application form so that they feel like it's a high-end service, like they have to apply because, you know, you have a lot of options and they need to be chosen for the spot. Like, I think if you're setting a VIP program, they either need to be familiar with you or be brought through a more extended process where they're getting to know you and seeing like tons of testimonials and social proof of results that you've gotten for other people. Because if you promote a VIP program just straight off of an ad, like I don't know you. I don't know if you can deliver the things that you say you're going to deliver. It's about building that social proof and that trust before ever asking them to buy a program or sell a high, whether it's VIP or a high-end program. If you are going to run an ad to a middle ground product, I would say start with something that's like $12 or $27, maybe like some sort of workbook series or something that's smaller to start getting them getting you on their radar. And I've actually been having a lot of luck running ads towards like those smaller dollar amounts, not only for like the conversion rates are great, but also from a business perspective, like that instantly separates people who are buyers versus just collecting freebies and they're not in the right mindset yet to invest in their businesses or themselves. So if you're asking for something right off the bat, like with a lower end product, that people who are buying this are invested in solving or finding the solution to their problem. They're ready to buy. And then like statistically, once they've purchased from you once, they're more likely to purchase from you again. It's like that 80-20 rule of like 80% of your profit will come from 20% of your followers. So really nurturing those people after they have purchased from you and like creating raving fans and showing them all the amazing testimonials you have and social proof that you've built up. Like that's where you could get away with eventually selling a VIP program from a Facebook ad, but there needs to be a lot leading up to that point first. So that's all the questions that I got. If you have anything else, you have a few seconds left before I officially sign off. Otherwise, I did put my Facebook page link in the comments, not the comments, in the description. So if you want to friend me or follow me, I always like new friends, so come on over. And then my website is allybjork.com, and I am happy to answer any questions you have about sales funnels, Facebook ads, or just digital strategy in general, getting that foundation laid before you are ready to run the ads. You are most welcome. I'm so excited that I got to be here. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. And keep in touch, and hopefully I can talk to some of you more afterwards. Thank you.